backstitching the 3 final edges of your pencil case. So I've got my needle threaded up, single thread at the end where we're going to be sewing, or what we're going to be sewing with, and your anchoring knots at the end of that. Just trim off any tail that you might have there. Now I'm going to flip my pencil case around. Now because I'm right-handed, I'm going to start on this end of the pencil case, on this side, start right up at the top where the fold is, above the zipper. Right-handed, I'm going to move across to the left, turn the fabric, continue across to the left to the next corner, turn the fabric, and continue all the way along to the end, to the final fold. Now, I will not have enough thread to do the whole thing. I will have to stop and start, and so will you. That's fine. If you are a left-hander, you are starting at this end, and you are working from left to right, turning at the corners, left to right, turning at the corner, left to right, and finishing here. Okay, so needle ready to go. I've got my markers there ready for my sewing. So I'm going to come up on the first, I'm going to come in. Remember, with back stitching, we need to come in on the second marker from the edge. And I'm going to go back to the last marker and create a stitch. Oops. Okay. And another one, because I want to make my stitches strong. Okay, then I'm going to come back to the very end. I'm going to come under, and I'm going to come up here at this third marker. Then I'm going to come back into the end of my last stitch, right through, under and forwards. You can take that pin out, take them out as you come to them. I'm going to come back to exactly in the end of that last stitch, under and forwards. Back to the end of that last stitch, under and forwards. Oops. Back to the last stitch, under and forwards. And we're just going to continue that the whole way around, remembering to keep the tension on the stitch firm but not too tight. Not pulling the fabric so it starts to pucker. Back to the end of the last stitch, under and forwards. Now I'm just guessing across here because I can't see any mark. I couldn't see to mark on my zipper, but I'm following the same pattern. Take the pins out as you come to them, so it's a little bit dark here for you to see right now, but I'm just continuing with my stitches. It's important you do continue with the same length of stitch across this point. This is a bit of a and in fact, when you get to this point here, when you get to the zipper here, I would actually do a couple of back stitches on top of each other for extra strength. So one, go back and do another one, two, okay, then moving along across the zipper tape, and once again on this side of the zipper tape doing a couple of back stitches on top of each other for strength, because it is a point which gets a lot of use, and you will find that yeah, the more you use it and the rougher you are at opening your zipper, you really want that point there to be nice and strong, and the same on the other end. Okay, so I've done a couple of extra stitches there for strength. If you forget to do them at this point, you can go back and do them afterwards. You can do a few extra stitches there just to make it strong. And now I'm just back to my regular back stitching. So back to the end of the last stitch, under and forward to the next mark. It's like this. Back to the last stitch, under and forward to the next mark. So I'm on my line, I'm using my markers, so my stitches are neat and even and are doing the job. So I'm right to the end of my single length of thread here. I'm starting to catch my spare thread in my stitching. So what I need to do is actually pull that out so I'm releasing my spare thread. Okay, so I'll continue to sew with a single thread. Backstitching does use up a lot of thread. It's sort of, you know, double or 3 times the amount of thread you would use for running stitch. And there's going to come a point fairly soon where I'm going to have to knot off and thread my needle with a new piece of thread to be able to continue. But just keep releasing that spare thread until you're down to just 2 or 3 needle lengths of thread left in your needle. Now we're getting close to the corner, and going around corners isn't as difficult as you think it's going to be. So I'm going to go backwards and forwards to the corner point. Okay, then I'm going to turn my fabric around. I'm going to take the next pin out, and all I'm going to do is exactly the same thing as I've been doing, only I've got a corner in the middle. So I'm going to go back to the end of my last stitch, and I'm going to come forward to the next marker. That's it. And then I continue along this line. Now I can feel that I'm going to run out of thread reasonably soon, so get ready for the changeover. Take the pin out. And I'll show you the point at which you want to stop stitching with the length of thread that you already have. Because if you sew for too long, you'll use up too much of your thread and you won't have anything to knot off with. Okay, I'm actually going to stop there. I've actually got a reasonable amount of thread left. I've probably got a good 4 needle lengths of thread left on there, but that's a good time to stop anyway. I wouldn't go any smaller than 3 needle lengths because you will struggle to finish your stitching off firmly. All right, so I'm just going to pick up I'm going to go through both layers of fabric. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of fabric, 1 tiny stitch, another tiny stitch on top. I'm going to do 3 tiny stitches on top of each other. And then on my 4th one, I'm going to take my needle through the loop before it disappears, and I'm going to pull it. And then it's knotted, and all I have to do is trim the end and thread my needle up ready to continue sewing.